Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. I originally planned to premiere a video on LSUE player Everette Jackson on Wednesday. Unfortunately, YouTube decided to take the video down before it even premiered. Now, your YouTube is saying that this had something to do with its algorithm and its robots, but I don't believe that at all. Most of the times, YouTube has been targeting black channels and looking for ways to get black channels taken down, and that's the main reason why they decided to go after this video, even though it didn't violate any of the community guidelines and it wasn't even playable for Premiere. So how can you flag a video and have it removed when it hasn't even premiered? That's a critical question I want to ask people at Team YouTube, because you've never taken down videos before they premiered, but you're doing this to my channel. Now, the video I planned to do was about Everette Jackson, the 21-year-old LSUE player from Louisiana, and his white girlfriend. Now, your Everette Jackson decided to go to Idaho with his white girlfriend, and he decided to go do something that he possibly didn't know anything about, which was the hobby of tubing. Now, I guess this tubing is something that his white girlfriend was doing all the time in Idaho, and while she was comfortable with this tubing, your Everette Jackson probably knew nothing about tubing. All he probably knew was about basketball in Louisiana. But in an effort to try to go out here and impress his girlfriend, he decided to go all the way over to Idaho to go tubing, and he went tubing in some extremely dangerous conditions. Now, these rapids that people go tubing in Idaho are extremely fierce rushing waters, and these waters are extremely cold. And if you don't know anything about these waters, you could possibly wind up getting severely injured or losing your life. But that didn't deter Everette Jackson from going into these waters. He decided to go in these waters with no training or any experience, and he didn't understand that the conditions for these rapids were extremely dangerous at this time, because the water was rushing faster at this time of year than in any other time of the year. Even worse, this water was extremely cold, so what would happen to somebody who had been in this water for an extended period of time is that they would wind up with, and without having ability to use their hands or to grab anything, because everything is so cold and your body is numb. So he didn't go into this situation with any sort of critical thinking. No, he was so caught up in his feelings over his girlfriend and trying to impress her that what he did was he decided to go into this water, and he went into this water without a life jacket, without any sort of things to help him be able to save his life. He's going tubing just to impress his girlfriend in this extremely cold rushing water, and as a result of going into this cold rushing water with no life jacket, no training on how to get out of a dire situation as related to these rushing rapids, and no understanding of how things work with these rapids, your Everette Jackson sadly wound up losing his life, and it took several days to find Everette Jackson's body. Now, when I took a critical examination in my previous video about Everette Jackson and him going out here, I called it a case of swirling gone wrong. I can't use the word that I originally wanted to use because YouTube's algorithm seems to have a mad for that word. But your Everett Jackson went out here looking to go out here and impress his white girlfriend, and that effort to impress his white girlfriend led to him losing his life. Now, when I look at Everett Jackson, he reminds me a lot of many of the guys who go out here and want to get their passport and go overseas. He wants to go out here and get with this, white or non-black woman, and he's so spellbound by the attention he's receiving from this white woman that he's not ever thinking about more important things as related to the intangibles of his manhood. And because he never thought about the intangibles of his manhood, like his safety and his health, all he's thinking about is, I'm going to go to Idaho, I'm going to go meet up with her people, I'm going to get to know her people, I'm going to enjoy a hobby that she's into, not ever thinking, hey, have you ever gone into any body of water? Do you know how to swim at the basics? And do you know how to get out of a situation where you're going to possibly be in danger? Because if you go tubing, this water again is cold, it is flowing and rushing really fast at a high rate of speed, and there are no lifeguards to come and get you. That's what a critical thinker is going to ask himself before he goes into that water. Or do I know how to get out of a dangerous situation? Do I have training to get out of a situation? And will there be people to give me help if I know how to do this? If I don't know anything about water and how it works, it can easily lead to you dying. And sadly, that's what Everett Jackson wasn't thinking about. And that's one of the things that cost him his life, because he was more caught up in trying to impress his white girlfriend that he wasn't thinking about his safety. He wasn't thinking about his health. He wasn't thinking about his freedom. And he wasn't thinking about any things that were more important as related to his own life, because sadly many of these black males who go out here and want to go out here and swirl, what they do is all they're thinking about is being with that white person, and they don't think about more important things like their health or their safety, and they put themselves in places of jeopardy. And that's what this individual did. He put himself in a place of jeopardy, and he went all the way over to Idaho thinking, oh, it's going to be like New Orleans, not understanding Idaho rapids are not the same as a New Orleans lake. The temperature of the water is different. This is rushing rapids. There are extremely sharp rocks under this water. There's a lot of danger here, and you cannot take that danger for granted because you want to get under the skid mark thong of Becky. You want to get a taste of the atomic waste. You want to go out here and do all of this stuff thinking that, oh, this girl is going to think I'm the fly guy. No, what you have to do is put yourself first and say, look, I can't be in this water. Yeah, it may be fun for you, but I don't know anything about this water. It is not something I know anything about, so I'm not going to fool with it because I don't know anything about it. I mean, this guy, he really was not thinking critically. He was just in his feelings over this girl, and sadly, it was his feelings over this girl that cost him his life. And you cannot really be like this, because this is what happens when you have a young guy who's in his simp phase. He'll go out here looking to impress the girl of his dreams. He'll go out here and put his life at risk, not understanding the same girl you're putting your life at risk. What will happen is, the next day after you die, this female is entertaining inquiries from other dudes, and you're sitting in the pine box and they're about to bury you, and she's out here making a date or getting phone calls from other guys. That's sadly what happened here with your Everett Jackson. He was so caught up in being the black guy to have a white girlfriend, he didn't understand that going out here with his white girlfriend on those rapids was going to lead to him losing his life. I mean, I look at this situation, and it is, again, a tragic case of what happens when you have a brother caught up in the color of a woman's skin and not really looking at his own health and safety, and not having the character to understand you have to look out for yourself first, and you have to look out for things as related for yourself, because he didn't look out for himself. I mean, he came from Louisiana, went over to Idaho, a state he knows nothing about, went around people he didn't know anything about, and then participated in an event that, like tubing, he knew nothing about. And sadly, because he was not so caught up in gaining social currency with his girlfriend, he wound up losing his life. And that didn't have to be. But you can't. But the whole thing is, a lot of these males, they get so caught up in their feelings about the girl that they have, then trying to impress her, they don't understand they're making a bad first impression as related to everything around them. I mean, this is what happens when you don't have a boy who gets guidance from another man. This is what happens when a boy doesn't get another man or a mother to sit down and tell him, boy, you don't know nothing about no water, don't go out on that water. And probably he got that warning from his mama, but he was a hard head and didn't want to listen. And sadly, when you get a hard head, you get a dead behind. So this was all the points I wanted to go into. And again, it's a sad case as related to Everette Jackson. He was a young man with a promising career and a future with basketball. I mean, he was a basketball player with who had been on the at LSUE and had a great career. But the sad part was, in spite of all of his education, he didn't have any critical thinking, because had he applied a little critical thinking, maybe Everette Jackson would be with us today. And maybe had he thought with the big head instead of the little head, maybe he would still be with us right now. Now, if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to avoid getting into situations like this, you can pick up my book, Stop Simping: Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also get it on Smashwords, the iBook store, and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle, Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Learn how to avoid predatory females like Instagram models and e-girls in their virtual con games with Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Get your copy of Stop Simping in Cyberspace in paperback and Kindle today.